Welcome everyone to Module 5. In Module 5, we're going to be focused on reading chapters 18 through 21. You have discussion board number 2. Now let's click on discussion board number 2 here. For discussion board number 2, make sure to have your first post by Thursday at 11:55 p.m. Make sure to have 2 peer responses, which can be to any of the questions that I ask. And make sure to focus on your initial post. And your initial post should have an APA formatted in-text citation and reference to support your work. But the question you're looking at this week is, why do some economists argue that recessions are partly responsible for a rise in the number of collusive agreements among businesses and merged firms? So when you look at economies, you'll notice that economy or economic growth depends on many different factors. And some of the factors are looking at collusive agreements between how businesses work together to make decisions. So how does that maybe lead an economy out of a recession? Now for this week I have some summaries available, and you'll see these summaries are helpful in terms of my teaching tips that I utilize, and I also have some helpful links as well. But for this week, we're looking at Chapter 18. And Chapter 18 is looking at the involvement of everyday business affairs. You're looking at the regulation of the private sector and how these different industries were focused on the level of fiscal policy involvement in our economy. Fiscal policy involvement is very important because it creates the stability for our economy to be able to grow. Chapter 19, we're looking at some of the financial developments. Some of the main financial developments were starting to be with the gold standard and the Fed. The Fed started in 1913, and it was responsible for some of the stability of our economy during that time. So you'll want to make sure to focus on the Fed in some of your analysis. In Chapter 20 is looking at the economy and its international relations. Now, what is being brought about, I don't know what happened here. What is being looked at in this section is looking at the global economy and how it's rolled through the international sector. And the international sector was very important to evaluate. You notice there's many key components in the international sector that we need to look at. And in the international sector, that started to open up the U.S. to many different expansions around the world to create more goods and services through our economy. In Chapter 21, we're going to start looking at labor and the laws that are started to bring about. The labor laws are very important in our economy. When you look at the labor laws, they influence wages and working conditions. They also influence government regulation, and they shape the direction of economic growth and development. So you have some very cool concepts for this week that we're going to focus on in the discussion board. So make sure to really focus on the requirements and have all of your work submitted by Saturday night, as I look